The college baseball experience conference tournament futures episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 100 times the amount of money you enter with Underdog Fantasy's Pick'em. Sign up today with the promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com promo code TCE SGPN. We're also brought to you by the Mega Memorial Merch Sale. 15% off everything in the SGPN merch store. Get yourself a college baseball experience t-shirt or a slew of other shows that we have with the promo code SGPN May. 15% off everything in the merch store. So hop on over there. And remember, as always, folks, too, let it ride.
Hey, folks, this is Bud Foster. You're listening to SGPN. Let's let it ride.
Yes. Woo! Welcome to the college baseball experience. Conference, tournament, futures. Swing, bada, let's go. All right. YouTube.com/the college experience. You can watch this show live. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Shout out to the chat. James Roberts saying, wild to see Colby back. Yeah, I was AWOL. I was AWOL for a few, just doing a lot of other things like being a fucking father. Never counted on me doing that. Other episodes. But it's college baseball is heating up. When I mean heating up, I mean one team. And look, if you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, my name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
And you're nothing but a chameleon, lemon-headed, coward, terrorist pussy. And I'm after you, buddy. You're going to pay for it. Good night.
I must apologize to the very beginning of the episode where I stuttered on saying the college baseball experience. Well, ask my wife for a Kettle One on the rocks. She definitely put gin. So as I sipped it, I go, ooh, I was not expecting the gin. So my apologies. We're professional over here. We got uniforms and everything. You're too late. Get this Greenway bullshit out of here. Look, we gave you.
They did sweep wins. Your ass.
Who won the conference? All right. Get this little Greenway bullshit out of here. All right. We'll see. We'll see. Look, we'll see if what you can do when it really matters. All right. But yeah, it's been fun. College baseball is heating up, and that is why this guy is always serving high heat to the college baseball fans out there. He's the real heart and soul behind the college baseball experience. You've also heard him on the college basketball, the college football experience, and a slew of other things. He's always behind the scenes. Used to be on the MLB Gambling Podcast. Give it up for the great Noah Bieniek. How you doing, buddy?
What's going on, Colby? Yeah, I mean, conference tournament time. It's basically March Madness all over again, just in baseball form. Again, one of my favorite times of the year. Give me 20 different brackets, and they all have their own different mechanism of how they're working right now. So that's great in itself. You have to kind of decipher how each one of them is going to break down. But there's nothing more fun, in my opinion, than watching all these teams compete for one last week. And then, unfortunately, 75% of them just get cut off. And then we got one of the greatest postseason tournaments in sports. I can't wait.
I agree. Amen. And the road is getting interesting now. That's always interesting, even when it starts in February. But like any great season it should lead up and get better and better and better and better and better. College football, take notes. Oh, we have 12-team playoff coming, but there's still no auto bids. We need auto bids. But I guess we have 5. But anyway, college baseball is a sport that's growing.
You want auto bids for every conference.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
Goddamn right. I want more than 12 teams.
Yes.
I know how corrupt the sports have been historically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know some of these national championships, all these schools claim that are phony. You expect, and because there's someone sitting on behalf of Condoleezza Rice is in the committee room. Fuck out of here. All right. Well, she was not now. Now it's someone else that they bought and paid for. But don't worry about it. I'm very excited for college baseball though. They have a tournament. It's awesome. It's growing and people figuring out about this and finding out about this, finding out about this. And yeah, I think it's amazing. So seating, look at this. We got artwork and everything. All right. Yeah. YouTube.com/@thecollegeexperience. Hit that like and subscribe button. Shout out to Sam in the chat. Who's this year's TCU? Noah, he's got rent to pay.
We got to find out because TCU finished the year red hot and they won the Big 12 tournament. We'll see which team is this year's TCU. First tournament that we're going to start off here is the AAC, the American Athletic Conference. They do not have a fucking bracket graphic. So you get this graphic called seeding, and it's their...
you don't need a bracket when you know who's winning.
So it's their matchups on the schedule. Basically, they're doing it like Omaha, where there's 4 teams in a pool. There's 2 pools. Number 1 seed, East Carolina Pirates. Colby's East Carolina Pirates. They're playing the 8 seed Rice. The 4 seed Wichita State and the 5 seed UAB are all in one pool. It's a double elimination pool. And then the second bracket consists of the 2 seed UTSA, the 7 seed Charlotte, the 3 seed Tulane, and the 6 seed Florida Atlantic. Again, both pools are going to have one winner, and both winners are going to play each other once in a championship game. Should be fun, but in my opinion, give me a bracket. That's what I want to see.
Like I said, when it's obvious who's the best team, what's a bracket? You know what I mean? What's a bracket when you know there's one team that just is going to rise above the rest? Yeah. I'm with you though. Look, folks, before we dive into the AAC, I want to tell you that you're listening to the College Baseball Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It's the biggest week in racing this week, the Indy 500. I just watched the qualifying this past weekend. You also got the Monaco Grand Prix, which if you haven't watched that one, fucking beautiful. I don't know why I'm not successful enough in life to go to that thing.
I know why. I saw a post on Twitter today saying that more than 57% of their population in Monaco is full of millionaires.
I know. That's what I know, but that's what I'm saying. Why am I not a millionaire, folks? Pass the college experience on to your friend. And the Coke 600. I mean, in NASCAR, you saw an awesome fight this past week.
Oh, that's
this weekend. Great fight. Check the tape. And then he punches him in the face. That was the old look over there. And then you punch him in the face. Yeah. Classic. But Rod and Cody from the NASCAR Gambling Podcast and the F1 Gambling Podcast have you covered for all of those. Make sure to join their Kyle Larson diecast car giveaway. That's free to enter. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/race to register and make sure you subscribe to the NASCAR Gambling Podcast and the F1 Gambling Podcast. Plus, we're running a mega Memorial Day merch sale. Like I said, college baseball experience, college basketball experience, college football experience. Slew of stuff. The new Stadium Heads podcast that I host with Michael Barker, talking about all the college football stadiums and their histories. 15%. We have merch for that. 15% off everything in the merch store with the promo code SGPN So get on over there. Obviously, the college experience hat that I'm wearing right now, I know it's backwards, but you can get that too. You can get whatever you want over there. All right, you got a lot of great stuff. Studies show that I think you have a 98% chance of, getting some hot ass if you're wearing one of our products. We did a poll. We interviewed about 3 people that wore our gear and that they had not gotten asked 30 days prior. They wore our gear and went to a bowling alley in Des Moines, and all picked up some scattered ass from that bowling alley. So get on over there. Use that promo code SGPN May, 15% off anything in the store. Hop on over. We got dog bowls in there. We got a bunch of different stuff. Hop on over there. All right. We are back on the college baseball experience. And I just know that, we don't have a bracket. If you're watching, we have a graphic, but I mean, you look at these odds, it's a bit laughable. The fact you can still grab ECU at minus 150 value is remarkable. I know they're talking Tulane in the chat. They had their day in the sun. They're plus 500 if you wanted to jump on that. But UTSA, the Roadrunners, meet plus 350. Wichita State plus 700. UAB plus 1,000. The Owls, who are plus 2,000. And the Clits of Charlotte plus 3,000. And once again, the Rice Owls plus 3,000. This is just a no-brainer. Don't overthink it. Pirates minus 150. Load up. Bieniek, why are you taking ECU?
So yeah, I'm on you, or I'm on East Carolina with you. Minus 150 here. I think it's just because they've got one of the best offenses in the conference. With most of these games taking place Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, your team needs to win pretty much 3 games to even get back to the weekend rotation, or else you're throwing some of your starters on short rest. And I'm not a huge fan of that either, because also, I mean, they're not going to be able to go as long into games. So you're hindering your own pitching staff if you do that and you don't pitch them for 6 to 7 innings. So you need an offense that's going to win you games early in the conference tournament, get you to the weekend rotation, and then those guys shut it down. However, East Carolina, the question here with this team recently has been Zach Root has not appeared in a couple of weekends in a row with an injury, and Wyatt Lunsford Shankman, one of the best relievers in the country, hasn't appeared for a couple of weekend series in a row too. So they're dealing with 2 really key injuries in this pitching staff, but I trust the offense enough to get through their bracket. I look at that bottom bracket, UTSA against Charlotte and then Tulane against Florida Atlantic. I think that's the pool of death when we're talking about the American Athletic Conference tournament this year. Personally, I think that East Carolina's pool, the draw they got was much more favorable. And because of that, my other dart throw in this conference is also going to be on Wichita State. Personally, they have been hitting really well right now. They have a 910 OPS in their last 10 games. And they have so if that offense is able to continue that success throughout the midweek early in this conference tournament, they have a duo in the starting rotation in Caden Favors and Tommy Lepore. If you can get to those 2 guys, Favors with a 3.38 ERA on the season, 9.2 strikeouts per 9. Oh my God. And then Tommy Lepore with a 4.10 ERA and 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. Those 2 guys have been really, really good in the American this year. I think those 2 could aid the Wichita State Shockers to a tournament championship and an auto bid if there was a bid to get stolen in this conference.
Trying to say Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball?
We know who's coming out of this. I look, your little shock thing, I can't take a team that doesn't field a football program. So, and they have Bill Parcells as one of their alumni. What the fuck's going on? No. ECU is going to run away with this. It's pretty simple.
Because when you're at East Carolina, you go for it every time. Or you don't coach at East Carolina, you don't come to East Carolina, you don't play at East Carolina with a weak heart. Write it.
Easy play. I wish I could be optimistic about any other team in this conference. I understand the logic for the Wichita State angle. Okay, but they still have to play ECU, and that's just not going to happen. So, yeah, I mean, I get it, but
I don't get.
Shout out to David. He goes, he's 8 beers deep. This show is awesome. Yeah, man, I'm working with a gin on the rocks because my wife misunderstood me on the Kettle One on the rocks order, but it's okay. It's okay. We're going to battle through it, just like ECU will battle through the American and, continue on their journey to win the national championship. Let's jump on over to the Atlantic. I don't know if this is the final year of the Atlantic Coast, because once they get
It'll be the All Coast.
the All Coast, Stanford and Cal. And then I don't know what we want to do with SMU, but
they're the Gulf Coast,
I guess Dallas. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
whatever.
Gulf Coast.
I mean, let's go. Yeah. Gulf Coast. That works.
So the ACC tournament, their format for the bracket is also very, very interesting. 4 pools of 3 teams. Each team in each pool is going to play a round robin. And if you go 2-0, you advance out of your pool. However, if all 3 teams go 1-1, or if 2 teams go 1-1, the higher seeded 1-1 team advances out of the pool. And if you're going to take one thing away from me and Colby during this entire podcast, fade 0-1 ACC tournament teams against 1-0 or 0-0 ACC tournament teams during the ACC baseball tournament. That's situation when it comes up. It is 16-2, hitting at 89%. In 2023, we had 4 opportunities. It went 4-0. In 2022, it was 2-0. 2021, it was 1-1. 2019, it was 2-1. 2018, it was 4-1. In 2017, it was 3-0. So very, very strong record for this trend, for this system. I highly recommend you, back us and hop along the ride with us. As I just switched over on YouTube, the schedule here, you'll see a couple of opportunities immediately in day 2. So like Georgia Tech plays against Florida State in day 1. If Georgia Tech loses that game to Florida State, they then play the next day, and they would be 0-1 against Virginia with basically their season over, their conference tournament. They have no chance of advancing out of the pool. They're already 0-1. Virginia basically gets a W. And the same thing could happen with Virginia Tech if they lose to Duke in their first game on the first day. They play NC State second day. And they're also another bubble team. They're, kind of dreams get destroyed and the motivation's not high when they go into that game. So 3 pools here. Colby, why don't you do the honors and read off some of the odds?
Well, former East Carolina Pirate head coach. He's a former East Carolina Pirate himself. He's now at Clemson, and they are the odds on, favorites to win, which is typically how it goes when you're an ECU guy. Plus 400. Carolina, North Carolina, the Tar Heels are plus 400 too. Stop it. Virginia, the Wahoos, Tiki Torches, they're plus 600. Wake Forest, the Demon Deeks, plus 700. The Duke Blue Devils, they've been a fun watch this year, plus 750. NC State, the Pussy Pack, plus 800. The Seminoles of Florida State, plus 850. The Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, Buzz Sting, plus 1,500. The Louisville Cardinals, plus 1,500. The Hokies, plus 1,500 as well. The Miami Hurricanes, what has happened to that program, plus 3,000. And the Pitt Panthers, plus 3,000 as well. Look, we did the preseason episode. I'm not going to change my, I'm not changing my pick. Clemson's winning this thing. They're the best team in this conference, but I'll tell you what, man, I am intrigued by Wake and Duke.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Last night I fulfilled a home and home with Jake McKeever of College Baseball Central. We were running through all these tournament brackets, trying to pick winners without betting odds. And last night I said, I have Clemson winning this thing. And I have Clemson playing against North Carolina in the championship. Both those are odds on favorites. And yeah, they're not strong betting favorites at the plus 400 price, but I'm kind of wanting to stray away from the 2 favorites personally. And I think you drilled Wake as one of the 2 dark horses that I have. And Virginia Tech is the other one, which is in the Duke pool. So I think you drilled the pool correctly too. And you could even go with Duke and Virginia Tech. But I have flipped on kind of my instant gut reaction of Pool A, where I thought North Carolina would have the benefit of coming out of this pool. Based on the schedule, if I flip over on YouTube, you can now see the schedule. On Friday, the final game of the day is Wake Forest and North Carolina. Wake Forest got a dream draw. Basically, you're going to have Chase Burns on full rest because he normally pitches on Fridays. Last week, he pitched on a Thursday, so he's even got one extra day of rest. They're going to be able to throw Chase Burns, the best pitcher in the ACC. He just won ACC Pitcher of the Year today. They're going to be able to throw him against the number 1 seed. I mean, if you were North Carolina and you got this draw, you are like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. We get Wake Forest. Like that's not what the doctor ordered for successful advancement out of Pool A. So I really love Wake Forest. That is a dark horse as an 8 seed. Like coming into the year, nobody thought they were going to be an 8 seed. They have all the talent in the world. They just haven't really been able to put it together week in, week out. And the Pool C is also a nice target for a dark horse personally, because NC State 1 has been, really kind of confusing to me. They have plenty of series wins against really good teams. Like they've not lost a series since the first week in April. They finished the year.
You know who they did lose to this year?
East Carolina. They've finished the season pretty well. They're a little nicked up, not fully healthy, but that hasn't bothered them at all. Duke is the team, though, I am not buying in this pool, mainly because their ace, Jonathan Santucci, is hurt right now. They're expecting him to be back for the NCAA tournament. However, they kind of mix and match every game. We've known they've done the same song and dance for two years straight. They don't really have a set in stone weekend rotation for Duke. So they're throwing Johnny Holstaff every single game. No, that's not a ball player's name. That's just a nickname for an entire pitching staff. So Duke, I feel like they're going to kind of, wing it by the offense. If the offense isn't able to get them over the finish line, they're like, hey, we're getting into the NCAA tournament as healthy and as rested as possible. Virginia Tech, though, is the one that is on the NCAA tournament bubble. They need a couple of wins here this weekend in the ACC tournament. If they can beat NC State, I think they advance through the ACC tournament's Pool C, and Virginia Tech is an interesting dark horse at 15-1. So
the Hokie fans are saying
Nothing is over. Nothing. You just don't turn it off.
And the NC State, we know the NC State story.
You can't win.
Yeah, I'm taking a shot. Like I said, the Clemson one, I'm still going to sprinkle.
Yeah. Well, I have Clemson coming out of Pool B. So after all the pools are settled, the semifinals reseeds. So Clemson in this scenario, if Wake Forest wins Pool A, Clemson would be the highest seed remaining. I have Virginia winning Pool D, but Florida State very well could come out of there, and even Georgia Tech could come out of there. If any of those 3 teams come out, it doesn't even matter. Clemson's going to draw, in my scenario, Virginia Tech, or Clemson would draw one of the Pool D teams, like if Georgia Tech comes out. But the 4 or 5 seed, Virginia, Florida State, they would play Wake Forest in the semifinal. So Clemson's going to dodge Wake until the championship game, and Clemson's going to have the pitching advantage over Wake Forest because Michael Massey's out with injury for Wake, who's been their second or third best starter, depending on how you want to view it, because Josh Hartle has been pitching better lately, but hasn't had the season that you would have liked to have seen from him. So I really like Clemson against Wake if they get to that point in the championship game of the ACC tournament.
Hell yeah. Shout out to Moneyline Ed. It says, what's up, Colby and Noah? Hit that like button, youtube.com/the college experience. I'm with you. So I'm still going to take a shout out Duke because they've been a fun watch. I think part of my wager is the path. Part of it is they've been entertaining as fuck to watch this year. But I love the Wake angle too. I think that's a really smart angle. Folks, before we get to the next conference, I want to tell you that the college baseball experience is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. The NBA playoffs are here, and our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, wants to make it a lot more interesting. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Playing their pickup game is simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, assists, and so much more. You can make entries of all basketball. You can just load up your roster with NBA guys if you wanted to, or you can mix and match, which I think is really cool. I think it's one of the more unique things I've seen. Like you could throw in MLB, NHL, UFL. You know, they have a slew. I think they even have auto racing. So it's like you could really just mix and match all across. You can win up to 100 times your money, and it's a ton of fun. Underdog's available in 30 plus states, including California and Texas, and even the great country of Canada. Underdog's available in 30 plus states, as I alluded to. And they just launched Champions, their player versus player format for the state of Florida. Florida, hop on in. All right. So sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com. Promo code TCE SGPN. All right. We are back on the college baseball experience. Myself, Noah Bieniek. It is May 20th. You know, we're getting into the heat of it. College baseball. The road to Omaha is heating up, and obviously we jump over to the Big 12 now. If you're watching on YouTube, youtube.com/the college experience, you can see this action. The new Big 12 had, some teams in there that I'm familiar with from the days of the AAC and ECU beating the shit out of those losers. But here we are, and I mean, someone in the chat was asking a minute ago, who's going to be this year's TCU? Well, could TCU be this year's TCU? Because the odds,
they could be.
Oklahoma plus 300, Texas plus 375. So the future SEC teams having a pretty fire year. Plus 400 on Oklahoma State. West Virginia was having a great year too. Plus 700. K-State plus 1,000. TCU plus 1,000, Kansas plus 1,200, UCF plus 1,200, Cincinnati plus 1,500, and Texas Tech plus 1,800. Very interested to see. Really, I caught a couple K-State games earlier this year. They were better than I thought they would be this year. Intrigued by them, intrigued by TCU because of last year's stuff and the fact that I know some people over there, so I'm always intrigued with TCU. But I'm gonna be honest. Out of all of these, I'm jumping on Texas plus 375. I know it's Texas. I hate them, but I'm also not a fucking idiot. I'm going to jump in on that plus 375 with the Longhorns. Bieniek, am I a maniac?
No, that's my exact pick too. I love Texas. I don't love Texas, but I love Texas in this spot. They're going to have the home crowd too in Arlington as well. That's something to keep in mind. But they have finished the year 13-3 in their last 16 games with series wins over Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, UCF, and TCU. So those last 4 series they've all won, and they've finished the year pretty dang well. They've got the bullpen to be able to get them through the early games, the offense as well to get them through the early games, and then they have the inverted starting rotation that I've talked about a lot. LeBaron Johnson Jr. hasn't had the type of year that he would have liked. However, that actually would set him up to pitch on Sunday in the Big 12 championship game if that is their 5th or 6th game of the weekend. So, I mean, you would love for a guy of that kind of caliber to be pitching in that type of big game. But I wanted to talk about this with you, Colby. The first round has a lot of pretty interesting and enticing matchups that, like the Colby Dant, if he saw this in college basketball or college football, he'd be screaming, I fucking love this. You got Kansas State, and the Sunflower State Showdown.
Yes.
Game 1. Game 2, TCU, West Virginia, which that was the last weekend series of the year in the Big 12. And Randy Macy was a former assistant for TCU, and it's his last year coaching West Virginia. Then you have UCF Cincinnati, which is kind of like the least intriguing.
But even that's an AAC matchup,
They're the new Big 12 members, so you match them up against that. And Cincinnati went into Orlando and took 2 of 3. And then you have Texas Tech against Texas. So like all of these matchups are absolutely fire. And the way that the Big 12 brackets work is there's 5 teams per pool, and it again works kind of double elimination pool play, kind of like in Omaha. However, the top seed in each pool gets the protection, so they'll get the lowest seeded winner. So like if TCU is able to pull a TCU like they did last year, they are the 9 seed this year. If they beat West Virginia in game 1, they would have to then play the 1 seed Oklahoma. They don't get this little bit of a bye like you see with the long line on the bracket. That's what all the tight fonts say. So, but I'm with you, Colby. I like Texas personally. I think it's Texas and Oklahoma State are the two teams that intrigue me the most. But I do also think that this is the stronger side of the Big 12 bracket. I have Oklahoma coming out of the top too, basically because a lot of Kansas, West Virginia, and TCU, they really kind of need their weekend rotation. It'll be really interesting to follow throughout the weekend when they kind of deploy their top pitchers, because that's what's going to sway me in some of these games. But
I was about to say, whoever you think is going to win that TCU Dub V game, I think it's worth taking a shot on them, because I think Oklahoma getting, Kansas or Kansas State, I expect it to be K-State. Shout out to Elliot in the chat.
If TCU knocks off West Virginia, though, TCU then plays Oklahoma.
That's what, but I still think like that side is it's worth taking a long shot on one of the teams on that side.
Yes, because I do think Oklahoma State and Texas are two very, very solid teams. I like both of them in this kind of format. I think one of those teams advances out of the bottom part of the Big 12 bracket. Oklahoma, to me, has performed the best overall in the Big 12, but as Jake McKeever pointed out to me yesterday, their series losses are to Oklahoma State, Texas. They lost the game to TCU. So, like, when they've played the top competition in this conference this year, they haven't quite lived up to that. But I think they've got enough to get back and buy their pool, because it is the weaker pool, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'm loading up on the Longhorns. I'll take a shot on my, and look, I like the angle that WVU has with the retirement and everything, but since I know some people down there in Fort Worth, I'm going to take a shot on TCU, just to sprinkle a little bit. But
let's not deploy the coach angle with West Virginia yet. Let's use that to get the Omaha. But yeah, TCU, I mean, they play well in the stadium. Last year they won the tournament, and they also played well in the preseason tournament that was there last year. So like, they're very familiar with Globe Life Field, and they play very well there. So
let's go. All right. I feel great about that. Now we jump over to it's the Big Ten. I know you're a Big Ten guy, but when I think of college baseball, I don't really think of the Big Ten.
You're not alone.
I've watched The Natural a shit ton of times in my life. Love Roy Hobbs. Boy Wonder. I used to have a Knights hat. I don't know where the hell that went in the world, but I needed a
New York Knights hat.
I did. Sick. And if you're not familiar with the movie The Natural, go see it, because it's fucking cool and awesome and a great baseball movie. And for some reason, baseball has like cornered the market on the best sports movies, in my opinion. But that takes place as Roy Hobbs as a guy from Nebraska. And when you mix that with Field of Dreams, which is in Iowa, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Big Ten is baseball land, and Nebraska is the odds-on favorite. Surprise, surprise, plus 200. Illinois plus 225. Indiana, the Hoosiers plus 450. But then Iowa plus 700. Go see. Like, honestly, I haven't seen the Field of Dreams shit yet, and it's very high on my list of things within America to do.
Me too.
Yeah, I got to get over there. So, Michigan, Phoenix, Wolverines plus 800. Nice little price for them if you believe in Go Blue. The Buckeyes of Ohio State plus 1,800. I know Phoenix laughing at that. They must have had a shitty year there. Purdue plus 1,800. Penn State plus 2,000. I got to be honest, as someone that I try to watch as much college baseball as I can, but I haven't been going into the studio as much this year because I have a newborn that was born in basically January 31st, and that has hindered some of my viewing experiences as opposed to last season. But I still do watch some, but I don't have a 11 TV setup to really watch all of them. But I did catch a little bit of this Hoosier team. I was impressed with the Hoosiers this year. I happen to be a Colorado fan, so you'll never see me saying "Go Big Red." So give me the Hoosiers at plus 450. And you know what? Give me a little of that Field of Dreams love, plus 700. I know you're going to try to talk me into to Michigan and the Wolverines, but tell me, Brett, you know this conference better than me, because I'll be honest, I just want full transparency to the audience. When I'm searching for college baseball games to watch, which I do frequently, but like I said, I don't have the 11 TV setup as much. I go into the studio about once a week. I don't normally put a Big Ten game on.
You're not alone.
I put a lot of other conferences on. So I will be fully transparent with you and say I'm a little more blinded on this conference than say the Big 12 or AAC, because obviously ECU's in the AAC, so I watch a lot of AAC, and obviously some of the other conferences, the SEC and stuff that I really dive into. But I did catch a few Indiana games, and I like this team. I'm jumping on the Hoosiers, and I'm sprinkling Iowa.
So Indiana played very, very well at the beginning of the year. They did not start conference playoff the way they wanted to, but they've finished pretty well as the 3 seed in the Big Ten. Iowa, the preseason favorite, right there along with Indiana, finished 4th in the Big Ten. And that's honestly where I think I'm going to turn. I'm going to turn to Iowa. Mainly because I'm not buying Michigan, unlike your assumptions.
What an honest guy.
Their pitching staff is dealing with a little bit of soreness. Mainly Mitch Voigt is one of the big ones that we don't have fully healthy right now, and he's not pitching. He still is hitting, but he hasn't pitched in quite some time. So I'm a little bit nervous about Michigan, mainly because they only throw about 4 or 5 guys a weekend, and I'm assuming that some of those guys are going to go. That's typically the way that Michigan's gone in the Big Ten tournament. In the midweek, they just rely on some of their guys to have a rubber arm and get through it. Not the safest, but it's definitely the route worth taking if you want to try to win this tournament and get an auto bid into the NCAA tournament. So I actually like Iowa in game 1. Their offense has played pretty dang well this season, overachieved many of our expectations. They have a 914 team OPS this year, 114 WRC plus, 882 team OPS. Sorry. And their offense has been very solid. I also like Illinois, another team that is offensive led, and they will need to win some games in order to get to Jack Crowder in their weekend rotation. Their 1-2 punch is pretty solid, but I like Iowa. If that's your strength of your team and you're also the betting favorite, or one of them, and they're plus 225, Nebraska's plus 200. I think that Iowa's strength is better than Illinois' strength when Iowa's starting rotations on, and they weren't fully clicking throughout the entire year. Now you got Obermuller back. You also have a Brody Brecht who's been very, very good recently. So those two I think are better than Illinois' top 2 whenever they're facing off in this pool. And on the other pool, for me, it's Nebraska, and it's not real. I'm not really considering anybody else. They're going to have the crowd edge as well. Indiana does turn out a little bit, but I'm expecting Iowa to be the second largest crowd showing. Illinois is going to be in there this year with their team actually winning the regular season. I feel like their passionate fan base is going to want to travel this year to see this thing. But Nebraska is going to have the most fans there. And overall, they have 4 starting pitchers that are going to be able to get the job done in a weekend, and their offense has been capable of enough. But the 4 guys are Brett Sears, who's I don't know if I saw the Big Ten Player Awards coming out, but he's my favorite to win the Big Ten Pitcher of the Year. They also have Mason McConaughey, Drew Christo, and Will Walsh. All of those guys have been very, very solid for the Cornhuskers this year. So Nebraska is the betting favorite. That's not my favorite dart throw in this conference per se. That's Iowa at 7-1. But I think you get Iowa, Nebraska, or Illinois, Nebraska in the Big Ten tournament final.
Wow. So my Hoosiers, once they beat their arch rivals Purdue and they move along, we'll have a conversation. But Bieniek, I got to give him credit. He's going against his boys, the Michigan Wolverines.
Yeah. He felt like shit afterwards.
Prove me wrong, boys. Prove me wrong.
There we go. And that's all available. Big Ten Network. Look, It's not like the Pac-12 network where you got to live in fucking Taiwan to watch.
Big Ten Plus is closer to the Pac-12 network than people think. It is.
Really? I got to introduce you to a guy.
I mean, there's like 50 piles of shit in between. If you want to talk about baseball movies and references, that's from Moneyball, where the next lowest is Pac-12 network. And there's a lot.
That's great flick. You can tell that no one on Moneyball, the story historically, like what happened, no one from anyone on that Oakland A's staff or no one that actually worked on the movie was affiliated with the Pac-12 network, because if not, it would be successful. The Big Ten, it's going to be fun to watch. I'm telling you. And I say this as kind of a Big Ten hater. And then you have the Pac-12. Speaking of the Pac-12, man, I got to be
pour one out, right? Pour one out.
I got to be honest. I'm diving into preseason college football, and a lot of that has to do. We're previewing all 134 teams, solo podcast like we do on every year on every single team, but it's 134 this year.
This is the last Pac-12 event.
This sucks, man. Like, I don't know how they fuck this up. I mean, I do in a way. Larry Scott, $50,000 hotel rooms in Vegas. Sure. Sure. That's a great idea for, but it's just wrong. Like my whole life, not only my whole life, like my grandfather's life, not even my dad.
Well,
my grandfather's life is Pac-12. I mean, he lived on the East Coast, but I'm saying the Pac-12 played their teams.
Yeah.
What were we going to say?
So I was with my grandfather. It was 4th of July weekend when that news came out of UCLA and USC joining the Big Ten. Have I told you this story?
No, I don't think so.
But like I informed him of it, and like his first idea was, "Oh, I've got to go get the daily newspaper." Dude, it's not coming out till Monday, and it's 4th of July weekend. So I'm like, okay. So first off, that's the funny part. But then second, like he's like, "Oh, UCLA, like." That's going to be great. And no, they haven't had any really football success in a decade. And that's what people are adding them for. And a lot more than I do on that whole situation, but I knew that would kind of crack you up with the.
Oh no, it's hilarious. But I mean, I could just picture my grandfathers are passed away, and rest in peace to them. But I remember specifically one grandfather was big into college football and really all forms of football. But, I'm pretty sure he would be very disgusted at what the youth has done. And when I say the youth, I speak of my generation, because I think it's my generation that's in charge of these TV networks. And look, I understand the Pac-12 was mishandled, but you don't think conferences were mishandled 40, 50 years ago? They didn't blow it up because of fucking TV money. So, I mean, I don't know. Let me take a drink. But anyway, we have the Pac-12 baseball tournament available for all the people in Auckland, fucking New Zealand. And look, I know they're going to be channel surfing there in Auckland, New Zealand, and about 0.3% will land on Pac-12 baseball network, the tournament on the Pac-12 network, and say, "Hey, let's watch this." But here we go. I mean, I feel like it's so bittersweet. I almost want to watch this tournament more than every other fucking tournament in a way.
Yeah. This bracket, by the way, if you're watching on YouTube, pretty confusing. This is their main graphic that they released. And no, it does not show you. It does not show you which teams are in which pools. It just shows you a couple of little brackets of their games in the pool. It says pool play. But if you read vertically, it's not the same teams in the same pool. And if you read horizontally, it's also not the same teams in the same pool. So I'll clear that up real quick. Pool A,
it's pretty confusing. Like when Larry Scott had to turn in his expense accounts to the Pac-12 network and said, "Well, $50,000 a night. You guys wanted me to go to Vegas. You wanted me to go to Vegas. $50,000, and that doesn't $50,000 a night in Vegas because I was representing the Pac-12. I had to do it right." And then, that's $17,000 dinner. No, come on, I'm hanging out in Vegas. I'm the guy of the Pac-12. I gotta be able to show the people a good time. So much like that. I imagine the confusion runs deep. And yeah, here we are. The odds. The
So
Oregon.
real quick, the pools. You're good, and then we can get to the odds. So the pools. They're 3-team pools in 3 different pools. So it's kind of like the ACC tournament. Instead of 4 pools, though, it's only 3. Pool 1 is the 1 seed Arizona. David Matola in the YouTube chat bragging once again about his Cats winning a regular season in the Pac-12 in the final year. So Arizona, the 1 seed, 6 seed Cal, 9 seeded Washington. Then in the second pool, Pool B, it's Oregon State, Arizona State, Stanford, the 2 seed, the 5 seed, the 8 seed. And then in the Pool C, it's the 3 seed Oregon, the 4 seed USC, and the 7th seed Utah. All right, now let's jump into some odds.
I'm sad. It's like reading a fucking obituary. Oregon State plus 120. Actually, you know what goes on par with this? So this might be a fucking completely useless story as far as, but you know what? I'm drinking, and I was walking my dog the other day, and I saw that 3 crows were trying to bully a squirrel next to my house, right? And I'm on Team Squirrel here all day. I don't know how you guys are, but or girls, you gals, girls, you never know. I might get a 1-star review for and you've been putting in all this hard work, and here I just bombard in with guys out there.
Squirrels
but
and crows talk.
yes, but look, I mean, a squirrel was getting fucked up by the crows. I kind of have my wife hold my dog, and I go over to check. Get out of here, crows! Get the fuck out of here, crow! What's going on? And then I see.
Why didn't you let Muddy Waters go after him?
Because Muddy Waters would eat the fucking squirrel. He doesn't care about the squirrel. the Muddy Waters, for some reason, it must be an ancient tradition where squirrels. It's just he really fucking hates squirrels. He's kind of a peaceful animal in many regards, but something squirrels did long ago to his bloodline has
all dogs bloodline.
Yeah. Sure. but I go over, I get the crows out of there. And then I realize our squirrel, which is like kind of a baby squirrel, it's like teenage years. I realize he's got a broken leg. Right? So then I run in my house, which is about a 3 or 4 minute walk. I get like a full box of peanuts, right? I have had this. When you go to Costco and you buy a bag of peanuts, I don't think you realize the journey that you're on. I love peanuts, but you're not normally going to have that many peanuts before you start to think about yourself as a maniac. So I grab a box full of peanuts, like kind of put them in like a bowl.
They do come in bulk.
That's what I'm saying.
Packages.
They give you so many peanuts that it's like, okay. But I go back to this walk, and I go over, and damn if the squirrel at first was terrified of me. He jumps up a tree with 3 legs, and I feed the squirrel literally almost out of my hand. Like I went like to the stub of the tree and put the peanuts there, and he has like probably 5 or 6 peanuts, and then he realizes that he's kind of full and he's not interested in me, which is fair. And so I put a bunch of them on the ground. And the next thing I know, a couple days go by, and I come back out. I'm driving this time, driving out of my parking lot. And I realize that the crows are fucking with them again, but in a different spot, closer to my house. So I get out. He runs up the tree. This time he's got 2 broken legs, man. He's got 2 fucking broken legs.
Crows.
Right? And I mean, not only that, he has like a flesh wound, man. And I'm like, fuck. But I was thinking about taking him into my house. But then I thought about my dog's reaction. That I don't want to be that Arkansas fan in college baseball that got rabies from grabbing the fucking possum.
Mark that on your bingo card with Colby appearing on the show.
Oh yeah. And look, I was actually trying to lure him into like kind of just a little tub that I had, like a little, like if you're like a bucket, a cleaning bucket, so to speak. and he didn't fall for my bullshit. Even though I was trying to take care of him, I gave him some more peanuts. He was cool with that. But today I went out there. I was driving. Had to go to Costco again today. And let me tell you, if you have kids, baby formula, Costco, they're the greatest fucking company of all time. You can get 2 things of baby formula for $55, where every other store charges you 1 for $50.
How does crows fighting the squirrels and now Costco baby formula fit into the Pac-12?
Hang on. So today, I went driving to go to Costco. And damn, if there wasn't, I was bringing up to my wife, hey, I wonder where we called him Freddie. Where's Freddie at, man? I wonder if he's doing okay with the 2 broken legs. He could stay at our house anytime. And as I mentioned that, I go about 20 feet. And then I realize Freddie's in the middle of the fucking road because he's got 2 broken legs. Someone ran him over, and now the crows are eating him.
No.
And it was horrible. It was really horrible. It's really fucking with me, but it makes me think of the Pac-12 network. And that is my point.
You also filmed the video of just trash in the LA streets, and you were like, this is the UCLA USC move to Big Ten. Like, I enjoyed that one a lot.
Well, I wanted to film it, and I'll be honest, full pussy meter here for me. I wanted to film it as I saw the 2 extremely homeless people, completely out of their mind, yelling at the world, throwing the trash on the street. But then I said, if I get close, like, and I'm talking into the camera, they can slash my neck or something. You know what I mean? And I was like, nah, I'm okay. I'm gonna give it 15 minutes and then do the video. And it worked out. But look, it's a perfect metaphor for the Pac-12, and it's unfortunate that Freddie, because I tried to save Freddie, I really did. But it's much like the Pac-12 network, is that, you know, mishandled. He didn't take advantage of opportunity. I tried to give him a home, and it didn't work out for Freddie. But rest in peace to the great Freddie, and may God have mercy on his soul. And those crows are all fucking assholes. All right, I'll tell you that. You're lucky You're lucky California gives you like 30 restrictions on ordering a fucking flamethrower online, because I tried this, right? And I would take a flamethrower to those fucking crows. But anyway, continue on.
So you were reading betting odds, and you read the Oregon State price, and that got you talking about.
Well, it makes, dude, the Oregon State's, I hate to mention this, but they are in a way the squirrel. Now, it's not their fault. It's not their fault. It's not their fault.
You weren't even going to mention that part, and that's the whole reason why you started the fucking story.
It's not their fault. It's not their fault, but they're kind of the squirrel. Now, the question is will they be smart enough?
I wasn't even putting that together. I was like, why in the world is this?
Well, will they be smart enough? Because I saw their C-Dub contract, and I kind of like what Washington State and Oregon State are doing.
That's all right. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I actually think they might be able to find their way out of this with that
they
settlement.
They actually have some brains.
They might. No, right now they're at the point where I'm offering the squirrel a home. Now, I was using an oven mitt because I didn't want this motherfucker to bite me, but I was trying to get him into my house because I was going to then take him to get some shots, make sure he's okay, rehabilitate the legs. It didn't work out for him because he didn't trust me, which is okay because a lot of human beings are pieces of shit. He played percentages, but percentages treated him wrong, right? But Oregon State's in that spot right now where they're being offered right now. And it depends on how they treat it. And I know David's making fun of him, saying you can catch Oregon State games after Dawson's Creek on C-Dub. Look, people talk shit about that, David. I'm old enough to remember when Fox got the NFL. And it used to be paid programming on Fox all afternoon. And everyone thought Fox on the NFL ain't going to work out. Now, look at them. Now it's a little bit different, but all I can tell you is this. I'm going to be watching a shit ton of Dawson's Creek. Anyway, Oregon State's the odds on favorite plus 120. Arizona plus 375. Oregon, the Ducks, quack, plus 400. The Sun Devils plus 1,000. USC plus 1,000. Cal, the hippies.
Hippie Olympics. Doesn't matter who wins because they're all losers.
Plus 1,300. Utah plus 2,000. Stanford plus 2,500. Washington plus 3,000. This is an easy play. Beavers all day.
Yeah, you got to go with the squirrel.
Yeah.
No,
I honestly was fucked up by the squirrel's death today.
It's the feel good story for sure. Like they are able to go out on top in the last Pac-12 event, and they have the capability of being able to do that. Oregon State in this pool is very, very interesting. Arizona State is red hot offensively right now. They still can't pitch. If they could pitch, they would be one of the best teams in the country. And Stanford, led by head coach David Esker, like that is a dangerous team late in the year because with one of the better coaches in the conference, he's going to have this team playing some of their best ball. You would like to think when it matters most, when they know they're not going to get into the NCAA tournament unless they win this tournament to get the automatic bid. But I do like Oregon State getting out of this regional. They have the deepest pitching staff in this pool with Arizona State and Stanford. So I think they go 2-0 there, and then they get to that Dudley weekend rotation. The top seeded team that I'm a little bit worried about is Arizona, mainly because I think their weekend rotation is very good. The second best one in the country. We just figured that one out.
I know that.
This last week. Not country. Second best one in the Pac-12. We just figured that one out last weekend when Oregon State took 2 of 3 against Arizona, but they lost in game 3 to Arizona. If
Arizona State, you mean?
No. Arizona and Oregon State played last week.
Oh, okay.
And Arizona won game 3 to salvage a sweep. They were at home too. So Oregon State went into Arizona into Tucson, won 2 of 3.
Woo!
But
I know David Mottola was.
Yeah. He felt like shit afterwards.
But they did win the Pac-12 regular season championship in that third game. So Oregon State needed to sweep Arizona to win the title, and they were 1 inning away of doing that. Arizona had a walk-off win in game 3. Arizona, I think, goes 1-1 in pool play, mainly because they can afford to. But last year, the same thing happened with 1-seeded Stanford. If you go 1-1 as the number 1 seed, you have the tiebreaker and get into the semifinals as the wild card. There's 3 pools. All the winners of the 3 pools advance. But then the next highest seeded 1-1 team gets into the semifinals. So if Oregon State loses a game to Arizona State and they beat Stanford, or if Oregon loses a game to USC but they beat Utah and Oregon State's 2-0 and Arizona's 2-0, then Oregon or Oregon State gets in as the wild card, if that makes sense how I just explained it. So Arizona can afford to just go 1-1. They know they advance to the semifinals. Then they know that their pitching is on schedule. They can go Jackson Kent. They can go Clark Candiotti. They can go Cam Walty in relief of one of the final 2 games. Arizona is going to be set up better later on in the tournament. So I think Arizona is going to be fine. But I do think Cal wins that pool. I think Cal's a dark horse in this tournament. I have Oregon State winning it just because it's the feel-good story. So personally, the way I have it going, because it'll reseed at the end. So Arizona and Cal would then play again if this same scenario happens. The 1 versus the 6 seed, and then the 2 versus the 3 seed, Oregon State against Oregon. I have Oregon State beating Oregon in the last ever Civil War under the Pac-12 emblem. I have Arizona beating Cal in the rematch. And I have Oregon State winning the 3rd game out of 4 against Arizona in a 1.5 week span.
Beavers are winning this fucking thing. All right. You got your little Wildcat shit, David. All right.
Thanks for coming back every time, David. I really appreciate it.
David's
really
a fucking man. I met up with David in Vegas.
Yeah, we did. We have a picture.
We did. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You
found him first. I'll give you credit. I was off wandering, filming a video.
Well, I think he found me would be the correct term, but because he said his name was David, I didn't check ID. All right. But anyway, do you hear my son yelling?
I hear White Tiger.
Oh, White Tiger he says, hey, he is not very fond of the Arizona State, of the discussion of saying he's on Team Wildcat. As you can hear, he sounds like a Wildcat. He's not. I haven't told him the news yet about Freddie. Freddie took one for the team.
Is that breaking news? Did you just figure that out today?
It happened around noon today, and And I think maybe even 11 o'clock today, 11 a.m. Pacific time. And I just felt it was crazy. These crows, these motherfuckers, man. I can never watch the movie The Crow again. You know what I mean?
Do we have another ad read real quick?
Yeah, we do. But God damn it, I'm in. It's amazing that I can even do the show in a way.
We're an
I feel
hour
bad
in.
for
We
Freddie.
forgot about the second ad read.
Folks, I want to tell you that the college baseball experience is brought to you by Rhythm. What did they say in Cool Runnings? Feel the rhythm. Feel the rhyme.
Get on up. It's bobsled time.
Oh, he knows about this one. He's
I know
seen this
about
one. I
that
can't fucking believe this.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
I've seen that one, and I haven't seen the other ones.
That came out like 10 years before you were alive. Look, if you're betting on NBA player props, then you need to download Rhythm. That's RITHMM. All right. By the way, it's spelled a little differently. But Rhythm gives you a menu of the best player props for every single NBA playoff game, making it easier to go through and find the best props to put your money on in a matter of seconds. All right. Rhythm's predictions are backed by over 3 years of data and a team of data scientists, which, trust me, you need a team of data scientists in the NBA to tell you, does he really care? Does he really care? You got to dive deep. All right. And focus.
Is he going to play through a little bit of shortness?
Exactly. Is Kawhi Leonard just going to say, "Hey, I'm a 200. I've made $250 million playing NBA basketball, and playing's a strong word. Or should I just sit on the bench like I normally do in key games and just make, and reap the benefits, to quote John Lovitz in Wedding Singer? Yes. So look, but they have a bunch of data scientists, and these motherfuckers know what they're doing. And look, they focus on fine tuning their algorithm to give you the best shot at winning. Rhythm pairs its predictions with player props graphs. They're going to show you these graphs to help you feel even more confident in your picks, which, you can make wherever you want to, normally, wherever you place your bets, or DFS picks. From superstars to bench players, Rhythm finds the best player prop lines, all backed by AI data. It seems like I don't know, or they got the data scientists or the AI data. I'm confused, but without you needing to endlessly scroll through a sports book is essential. Cause look, you give me one of these apps, I'm searching around for fucking 2 hours. Rhythm's going to figure that out for you. It also allows you to create your own custom NBA models so you can get AI backed, whether it's money line, whether it's spread, maybe totals, for every single playoff game. Start a free 7-day trial and start winning your NBA player props with Rhythm, available wherever you get your apps. All right, we're back on the college baseball experience. We're telling all types of stories over here. We already did Pac-12. Let's move along. Right? You got any dark horses you want to say on this Pac-12 thing or what?
Oh, my dark horse was Cal.
That's what I'm saying. We already talked about this. Let's move along.
This is the SEC.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was reading Pac-12.
So this bracket format, it's also fucked. Okay, so if you look at the far left, these are all win or go home games. Real quick, sorry, Elliot, I have to remove your comment, Colby.
I'm sorry. I love John Candy. I got to get him in.
So on the far left side, all four of these games, Georgia versus LSU, Alabama versus South Carolina, Vanderbilt versus Florida, and Mississippi State versus Ole Miss are all one and done games. So like if you lose, you're going home. If you win that, you move on to the double elimination portion of this. I hate the SEC bracket. It's so fucked. But now we're playing double elimination from this point, not moving forward though. So in pool 1, 4 teams, kind of like Omaha, you would have Kentucky. They play the winner of the Georgia LSU game. You have Arkansas. They'll play the winner of Alabama, South Carolina. I'll skip the bottom bracket just for the explanation of this. It's double elimination up until the semifinals. And if the team without a loss in that pool loses the semifinal game, they're just done. So they'll go home with only one loss. And the other team with one loss already, who played through the losers bracket, is just going to advance the championship game. And I think that's so shitty. And for the SEC,
I agree.
For the SEC, they claim to be like the best conference, which they are talent wise. They have the stupidest bracket, and I can't wait till next year when they go.
No, but they also, that fits the SEC. Normally they're not known for their academics. So
yeah, So next year they're going to do an all single elimination bracket, which in my opinion, that's better than this bullshit. So, but yeah, that's me airing
It
out.
must have been the fine people at Texas or Oklahoma to recommend this idea to Greg Sankey, who wants to make the NCAA tournament 7,000 teams.
Yeah.
So
that's me airing out a little bit of frustration with this tournament. The other thing is that you have to kind of judge motivation in this, and there is actual data behind purposely not playing well. And earlier in the YouTube chat, Neil Bolding asked, do teams intentionally tank to save their arms for the NCAA tournament? Neil, meet Coach Dave Van Horn of Arkansas, because that's probably going to happen. So since 2017, teams with 3 games played or less, there's been 36 teams. 24 of them made it to the super regionals of the NCAA tournament. That's 24 out of 36, 2/3 of the exact sample size. That's 66.7%. 17 of the 36 made it to the College World Series. That's 47.2%.
This is exactly what Sankey quotes about expanding the NCAA basketball tournament, which is so fucking silly because comparing baseball to basketball makes zero fucking sense.
Yes. And so going to last year's portion of these teams, there were 2 teams that went winless in the SEC tournament, Tennessee and Kentucky. Both of them made super regionals. Kentucky played LSU, who also played 3 or less games. So cancel them. Like, they could have gone to the College World Series, but a team that's already in this pool of data knocked them out of the NCAA tournament. Tennessee went to the College World Series. So 7 of the 16 teams that went winless in the SEC tournament since 2017, 7 of the 16 have made it to the College World Series in Omaha. Last year, the teams that played 3 or less games, Kentucky, like I said, they went to the Supers. Tennessee, they went to the Supers. South Carolina played 3 or less games. They also went to the Super Regionals. Arkansas was the one. Arkansas and Auburn played 3 or less games in Hoover, but they did not get out of their own regional. Florida played 3 or less games in Hoover, and they went to the national championship game. Also, who else went to the national championship game? LSU, and they played 3 or less games in Hoover. So both those teams in the national championship game, 4 of the 36 teams that played 3 or less games in Hoover have won the national championship. And it could have been 5 because there was 2 in the national championship game. So 11% of the teams that play 3 or less go really far in Omaha. 47% get to Omaha, 66.7% win their regional. Now let's go to the far polar opposite. Who plays the most games in Hoover? How do they fare? So last year, teams that won 4 or more games were Texas A&M, who did not get out of their regional last year. They lost in the Stanford regional. Vanderbilt lost their own home regional. And then Alabama got to a super regional, and they got destroyed by Wake Forest. 10 of 20 teams that play 4 or more games in Hoover won their regional and got super regionals. So only 50%. That decreases largely down to 3 out of 20 teams that play 4 or more games get to the College World Series. And only one of these SEC teams that play 4 or more in Hoover have won the national championship. So data really kind of shows you that these teams really aren't interested in winning the SEC tournament if they already kind of know where they're going to be in the NCAA tournament. So you want a motivated team to win it. Last year, Texas A&M was on the NCAA tournament bubble. They play 6 games in the week. They win the SEC tournament. They get into the NCAA tournament, but at what cost? Because they lost the Stanford regional. And Vanderbilt, who was on the bubble of becoming a top 8 seed and hosting and being able to know that they're going to host a super regional too. So they had some motivation. They won the SEC tournament. So that was your championship game last year. Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, neither of them got out of the first round.
Yeah, and that's why I mean, first off, they probably use that as an example why to not expand the CFP, which is fucking hilarious. But I would say, to me, why not circle Vanderbilt again? Why not?
Yeah, that's the team that I have picked for the SEC tournament this year. Personally, I have I mean, everybody knows that are listening to this show. I took their under in the preseason on the win total. Wasn't very confident in this team being very good this year. However, they've put them in a position to be on the bubble once again in the NCAA tournament. They need to do something this weekend in order to feel good about themselves getting into the NCAA tournament. And recently there's a story that has unfortunately happened with like they had really bad storms in the Nashville area, and a little boy named Asher Sullivan passed away because he fell into like a storm drain, was in critical condition. So in the last 2 weeks, last weekend against Tennessee, they lose game 1, game 2. Coach Tim Corbin goes out and gets Asher's brother. Can't remember the brother's name. They bring the brother into the Vanderbilt home team dugout for the game. They win the game against Tennessee. And then the second weekend, unfortunately, Asher passes away on Saturday, which was the third game against Kentucky, a game that they needed desperately to get across that 12-win threshold in the SEC. And they were able to beat Kentucky, who was the SEC champion at that point already. So their last 2 wins have been kind of ulterior motivation. And now that I think because he's passed away, they're really kind of motivated to perform well, do well. This is kind of like your feel good story of the postseason. I think Vanderbilt, they also have like the pitching depth to be able to do that. Nobody's ever questioned the Commodores pitching staff. It's always been, can the offense be able to do it? And can they play on the road? Because they haven't been able to play well on the road. But my buddy Johnny Venezia, he's been texting in our group chat. Pitching matchups are going to be rare to find this week, the entire week. But apparently, I haven't been able to confirm this myself. But both Jake Fettner and Johnny are talking about Pierce Capola going for Florida, who's a guy that Florida's been building back for quite some time. He's on pitch count. But Vanderbilt's going to go with their ace here, Bryce Cunningham. Like I said, they desperately need this game, and they are acting like it. So they're throwing their ace, Bryce Cunningham, and I think they win the game against Florida. So they're going to get into the double elimination game, which will give them 2 more games. From there, I think they could be able to do what Texas A&M did last year and make a little bit of a run. The team that I like a lot too in this tournament comes in that top portion of the bracket as well. I really like Georgia. This last weekend they lost the series to Florida, their arch rival. Florida,
we killed it on that over, by the way.
Yes, for Georgia, that was without a doubt. And sorry, Vanderbilt's in the bottom bracket, so I like it even more. I think Georgia and Vanderbilt are both poised for deep runs this postseason.
That's the 2 that I had circled too. I mean, maybe if I had to throw in a third, South Carolina, but yeah, Georgia was the one that I had an eye on.
Georgia's poised for a deep run because they're also kind of competing for a top 8 national seed. And what that basically means is if you win your regional, you're guaranteed to also host the super regional. And Georgia's offense has played extremely well as of late. They only really dropped that Florida series, which a lot of people are giving them a knock for, and because Florida just hasn't been good lately. But I think Wes Johnson's done an amazing job coaching this team up. And the pitching, although they don't really know their roles, they're figuring out some of the pieces that they have. Leighton Finley and Charlie Goldstein have kind of been the 2 stalemates in the weekend rotation. Goldstein's now healthy again. He's been pitching lately. And Leighton Finley's been like solid in the rotation week in, week out for you. And Colton Smith recently has emerged. They started him on Thursday last week. He's kind of been the best arm under the radar on the staff the entire year, but they also have Christian Maracna, who started some games this year, Jarvis Evans, who has been a piece. So like they have enough for Wes Johnson to be able to mix and match and kind of get their way through the SEC tournament. And they're going to be able to mash. Like this offense is going to play well against other teams' pitching staffs that they don't want to overextend either, because they know the NCAA tournament's coming up. So you really want to kind of handicap more of the offense than the pitcher in these midweek SC matchups and in all conference tournaments, to be honest. And I think the trio of Charlie Kahn and Corey Collins, who has the best on base percentage in the country, Corey Collins, and then Trey Phelps, who's really come on late. Those 3 guys, and really kind of up and down this order. Georgia's going to be able to have some momentum in the SC tournament, I think. So I think those are the two teams to really kind of bet on and watch throughout this week.
I'm with you. It's funny. We see eye to eye on the Southeastern Conference. It just means more. And yeah, I mean, look, I'm excited to watch. It's funny. You're less excited to watch the SEC tournament than the actual, like, I would say, like, throughout the season, I'm trying to watch all the SEC games.
Some years are different than others, but yeah, it's just like some teams aren't really going to come motivated this week.
Yeah. So, yeah. All right. Well, look, jump on in on that. Next up, what is this right here?
This is the Sun Belt. This is their bracket. It's a piece of shit, but it is a bracket, unlike the American. And basically, you got two pools, 8-team pools. The pool on the left consists of App State, the 6 seed, Troy, the 3 seed, Southern Miss, the 2 seed, and they'll play the lowest seeded team that gets out of the first 4. The first 4 is the 7 seed Coastal Carolina, the 10 seed Georgia State. The other game is the 8 seed Old Dominion, 9 seed South Alabama. So if Coastal Carolina, the 7 seed, beats Georgia State, they'll play Southern Miss. That's basically how that works. And then on the right side, the number 1 seed Louisiana plays the highest seeded winner out of the first 4 games. And their pool consists of James Madison, the 4 seed, and Georgia Southern, the 5 seed. Now that I've explained all the confusion and this weird ass graphic, hit us with some betting odds.
Yeah, Louisiana, the Lafayette, that is Louisiana, plus 250 odds on favorite. Then Brett Favre and his blood money down there in Hattiesburg. Southern Miss plus 300. Troy plus 450. JMU, Patty C's Dukes plus 700. The Cox of Coastal Carolina plus 800. Georgia Southern plus 800. ODU plus 1100. App State plus 1200. Georgia State plus 2000. And South Alabama plus 2000. Noah, tell me who you like. Give me 1 minute too, but tell me who you like.
You're good. So the team for me in the Sun Belt is Louisiana. I think they've got a pretty reasonable draw, mainly because both James Madison and Georgia Southern aren't too powerful of offenses. Louisiana has a really nice pitching staff, and I think they're going to be able to weather the storm better than others technically can throughout the midweek with their pitching depth. And that will get them to the weekend rotation containing 3 guys with sub 4 ERAs. Louisiana has a really nice draw. On the left side, I look at the 3 seed Troy, who also is one of the top 3 favorites, but these are my 2 kind of dart throws in the Sun Belt. Troy, this tournament is being played in Montgomery, Alabama. And Troy's going to have a home crowd. It's not going to be too large compared to all the other passionate Sun Belt fan bases, but Troy's going to have a home crowd. Their offense is rocking and rolling right now. And that's going to be able to get them through the midweek into the weekend with some of their pitchers. But Colby just got back. I like Louisiana because of their favorable draw. And I like Troy because they're one of the better hitting teams in the Sun Belt, and they'll have a little bit of a home field advantage being that it is in Montgomery, Alabama.
I'm going to take a shot. Crime pays. You know me in this podcast. I know about crime paying. Look, Southern Miss, I'm on board with what they're doing now. Not necessarily how they did it, but when you're cutting corners to make your university better, historically, SEC, many other schools, USC, normally that pays off long term. So I'm going to take Southern Miss, the Golden Eagles, to get it done there. I know the odds aren't incredible, but still plus 300. Jump in on that action. If I was to sprinkle anyone else, I guess I'd take a shot on the Cox of Coastal Carolina at plus 800, but I don't even know if I'm going to bet that. I'm going to take Southern Miss plus 300. I think that's my favorite play.
All righty. That's all that we're talking about today. We're hopefully going to have betting odds game by game. Wow, I lost my voice. We're hopefully going to have betting odds game by game throughout conference tournaments, and that's when I'm looking to bet on some of the smaller conferences based on matchups. But in my opinion, I haven't watched enough of the smaller conferences because we haven't had betting odds on them all year long. So for me,
it's easy to see a tie.
A ton of those midweek pitchers that they have that they would be able to get through a conference tournament week long scenario. So I'll be handicapping those games during our daily picks shows. We have the first one coming out tonight. We have betting odds that dropped while we were doing the show live. So I can guarantee that tonight's show will go on. Currently it's scheduled for 11:05. We'll see how many games there are, how long it takes me to kind of run through them and handicap them real quick. And we'll have a show. We're going to try to have one every single day this week with the conference tournament lines.
Noah Bieniek doing the Lord's work, hitting those dingers out the park. Give Noah a follow on Twitter at NoahB77_. I'm on Twitter at the Colby D. The college baseball experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. And look, we're just getting started. Season's heating up. And I can't wait for East Carolina to win this whole fucking thing. Oh, I'm sorry. But look, no, this is the college baseball experience. We also host the college football experience, the college basketball experience, the FCS college football experience. Check them all out as obviously the college football experience. We go live very soon with 134 team previews, as well as a conference preview for every single conference in the FCS, where we will talk about every single team. So when you think about it, we're going to talk about 261 teams. God damn it. If you're not subscribed, I don't know why you are not, but it's okay. People make bad decisions all the time. You just might end up being like Larry Scott when it's all said and done, though. All right. Until next time, folks, this is the college baseball experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast. You better start thinking about yours, and we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot.